Have you been bullied? Have you failed your tests? Do you feel like no one understands you? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, then let me tell you, in the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover why these can become your biggest opportunities. Today, I want to take you through my own journey of obstacles and how just beneath the surface were also some of the biggest opportunities that changed my life. The year was 2013. I was 20 and volunteering one evening with a few homeless children in Mumbai. They were about the same age as you. So I asked one of the kids what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he said he wanted to be a pilot. For a homeless boy without any financial means, growing up in a place where I come from, it's almost impossible to achieve his dreams. You see, I was born and brought up in India, where I saw a lot of poverty and kids who were forced to beg on the streets. And this made me question my privileges a lot. I started wondering how I could make a difference in their lives, and how could more kids like him go to school where we don't have access to free education or free higher education. So I started researching countries I could go to bring the best ways of making education more accessible in India. And this quest brought me to the United Kingdom, specifically Glasgow, where I enrolled for a master's degree and where I started learning more about the local community. Being away from my parents in a country where I didn't know anyone was indeed difficult. I had to manage to do my coursework along with my own cooking and my own laundry. Jokes aside, it was a challenging year, mainly because of the stress of not wanting to fail my exams, but also because I was running out of time to find a job that could sponsor my work visa, so that I could have more time in this country to find solutions to make education more accessible back in India. So I spent an entire year of constantly applying for jobs whilst I was also doing my master's degree. A few months after I finished my degree, and with not much luck with the job or visa sponsorship, I was booking my flights to India. Just I was about to press book, an email popped up. It was a 10-minute web interview slot with a company in London to see if they could offer me an internship. I got the internship, and due to hard work, my 4-month internship turned into a full-time job with a sponsored visa. So here I was, straight out of university, in a city I didn't have any friends in, working at a technology company with no background in computer science. I was also the youngest at that company. The next person who was young after me was literally double my age, and I was the only female, which is very common in science, engineering, and technology fields, adding to the perception that these are male-only fields. But as I struggled to fit in, I continued doing one thing I always found hope in: volunteering. It was through volunteering that I was able to overcome some of my biggest obstacles and also find some of my biggest opportunities. For example, because I was the only female at work, I decided to organize free public science lectures inviting women scientists and technologists to talk about their research, and so that I could also share our experiences of working in a male-led sector. So as I started reaching out to scientists on Twitter, the power of social media, if used correctly, can be world-changing. I started coming across various organizations in the UK that help young people just like you to be able to achieve and run their own projects. For example, one such program was O2's Think Big program, aimed at 16 to 25-year-olds, helping them with skills and finances. I got some funding to run my free public science lectures, and along the way, I met other young leaders that the program also helped. And I was amazed to see how these young people used the barriers they faced and turned them into successful projects. For example, one of the young people I met was a 19-year-old from Leeds. She was on the verge of homelessness, But because of this program, she started an organization that ran creative writing workshops for the homeless. So what happened next? I decided to make a documentary to show off these incredible young people. One of the people that I featured in my documentary was an 11-year-old from South London. He was a self-taught programmer, but he had also been diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. So he started organizing free coding classes for his local community, and his coding classes were autism and Tourette's friendly. And after he was spotted at my documentary screening, he went on to win the very first Princess Diana Award for his work. So due to my volunteering and this documentary, I was invited to meet Prince Harry in April 2018. I had the chance to give him advice on how he could empower young people across the Commonwealth, which was pretty cool. All this due to my volunteering initiatives and just trying to overcome my obstacles. I was also featured on the Forbes Asia 30 Under 30 list, the Financial Times Top 100 Ethnic Minorities in Tech, and I had an invitation to speak at the European Commission. I now continue using these honors to create more projects for young people such as yourselves, so that I can also bring them these opportunities. But let me remind you, as a young person growing up in India, I didn't have any special connections in the UK. All I did was try and find ways to overcome my obstacles, from making short films to contacting people on social media I didn't know. And this led to so many opportunities coming my way. So due to all of these volunteering initiatives which I did outside of my day job, I was offered a new job at an education technology company. However, a year into my new role, things didn't work out, and I had to leave that job. But now I had only 2 months left to be in the UK, to find a new company that could sponsor my new work visa. And if I didn't, I had to go back home. So here I was again, day and night, applying for jobs, being rejected again, this time with more experience on my CV, but the same hurdle of visa sponsorship. So I had no hope left. Until one day, someone mentioned that there was a new visa introduced in the UK in 2015. It was called the Exceptional Talent Visa for people in the digital field. At first, I thought there was no way someone like me, who has barely 3.5 years of work experience, was going to be a recipient of this visa. When you have no other option, your only option is to give it your all. So I spent the next month that I had left in this country working on my application. I wrote a personal statement, basically stating what I wanted to do in the UK. I collected all the evidence that I could of my work and my volunteering experience in the digital field. And I reached out to all of my contacts, which I had built over the years as I was volunteering, so that they could write a recommendation letter for me. So I submitted all of these documents, and the day after, I left the UK, not knowing if I will ever be able to come back to this country. But the only thought I had was that I failed to help those students in India I wanted to, because in the time that I was here, I couldn't find any solutions to make education more accessible back in India. And that I would have to rebuild my entire life in India whilst losing the life, work, and connections I built in the UK. It was now 2019. A few days later, I got an email from the Home Office, basically stating the outcome of my submission. My heart was sinking as I opened that email, and it said that I had been endorsed in the Exceptional Talent category. So I started my visa process, and 3 weeks later, I was back in the UK, this time with 4 job offers, and all this due to the power of volunteering and beyond the work experience I had. But the biggest gift and surprise of all of it was that as soon as I got back, a few months later, I found an organization that gives scholarships to underprivileged students in India to go to university, and the founder happens to be based in London. So now I'm joining hands with them and helping more students access education opportunities in India. After 6 years of an emotional journey and hard work, I finally set out to do what I wanted to. But you might be sitting there wondering, I can't relate to her. She's from the other side of the world, she works in a big city, she has a job, and you're right, I don't wear your shoes. But I do know one thing that we all have in common. It's that no matter where you come from, live, or go, we all face obstacles. But if you just flipped the coin, you would notice that it's an opportunity knocking on your door to change yours and others' lives. So as I help more students in India access education, I'm also helping and working on projects that can empower young people here. For example, last year, I had the chance to volunteer at Winchester University with Peace Charm Foundation. Every year in March, they invite a Nobel Peace Laureate to speak to young people like you, and you can also participate in social action workshops throughout the weekend. Now, this is an opportunity for you in the audience to start making links. This is right at your doorstep. So go out and start researching more and see if you can be involved with this. And I want you all to know that sometimes when you feel like the world around you is collapsing, or that every door is closing on you, that's when you should know that the universe is actually just preparing you to take off for a life-changing adventure. Because every challenge is an opportunity. Every hurdle is a chance to become better. And every mistake helps you grow. And I just want to leave you all with this one quote, which really inspires me, and I hope that it can inspire you as well. And it says, you will always be too much of something for someone. Too big, too loud, too soft, too edgy. If you round out your edges, you lose your edge. Apologize for mistakes. Apologize for hurting someone unintentionally, profusely, but don't ever apologize for being who you are. Thank you.